Have you ever noticed how the people who talk the most about their dreams accomplish the least? While others broadcast their ambitions to anyone who will listen, the truly powerful work in silence, revealing nothing until the moment of triumph. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most counterintuitive yet crucial principles of success: why keeping your goals and results to yourself isn't just smart strategy, it's the difference between those who achieve greatness and those who remain forever trapped in the cycle of good intentions. The moment you share your goal, you've already begun to undermine it. This isn't motivational folklore or feel-good psychology. This is cold, hard, strategic reality that separates the winners from the dreamers. When you announce your intentions, you're not just sharing information, you're handing over the keys to your own destruction. You're giving others the exact blueprint they need to sabotage your progress, steal your ideas, or worse, make you accountable to their limitations rather than your own potential. Think about it. Every successful person you admire, every empire builder, every revolutionary who changed the world, they all understood one fundamental truth: premature revelation is the enemy of achievement. They worked in shadows, planned in private, and only revealed their hand when victory was already secured. This isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. It's understanding that human nature is predictable, and that predictability can be weaponized against you. The psychological mechanism behind this is fascinating and disturbing. When you share your goals, your brain experiences what scientists call a premature sense of achievement. The act of telling someone about your plan triggers the same neural pathways as actually accomplishing it. You get a hit of dopamine, a rush of satisfaction, a feeling of progress without having made any real progress at all. Your brain, in its ancient wisdom, thinks the job is already done simply because you've articulated. This biological glitch in our reward system has destroyed more dreams than failure itself ever could. But the psychological sabotage goes even deeper. When you announce your intentions, you're not just tricking your own brain, you're inviting others to become judges of your progress. Suddenly, your personal journey becomes a public performance. Your timeline becomes their timeline. Your definition of success becomes filtered through their expectations and limitations. What was once a private pursuit of excellence becomes a desperate attempt to meet the approval of people who may not even want you to succeed. Consider the social dynamics at play. The moment you share your ambitious goal, you've created an invisible hierarchy. Those who haven't achieved what you're attempting will either feel inspired or threatened. The threatened ones, and there are always more of them than you think, will unconsciously work to pull you back down to their level. They'll do this through seemingly innocent questions about your progress, subtle expressions of doubt about the feasibility of your plans, or helpful suggestions that just happen to redirect your energy toward less threatening pursuit. The inspired ones are equally dangerous, though for different reasons. They'll want to join your journey, to be part of your success story, to share in your vision. While this might seem positive, it actually dilutes your focus and creates unnecessary obligation. Now you're not just pursuing your goal, you're managing other people's expectations and emotional investment in your outcome. You become a leader before you've even led yourself to success. The most insidious form of goal-sharing sabotage comes from those closest to you. Family members who worry about your failure, friends who prefer the version of you they already know, colleagues who benefit from your current position. These people love you, but they also have unconscious investments in keeping you exactly where you are. When you share your transformative goals with them, you're asking them to support their own displacement in your life. You're asking them to cheer for changes that might make them uncomfortable or challenge their own choice. This is why the most successful people in history were often considered mysterious, even by those who knew them well. They understood that sharing goals creates external pressure that corrupts internal motivation. When you work toward a goal in private, your only judge is reality itself. Your only timeline is what actually works. Your only standard is what actually produces results. This purity of purpose, this freedom from external contamination, is what allows extraordinary achievement. The power of secrecy extends beyond just protecting your goals from sabotage. It actually amplifies their potency. When you keep your ambitions private, they ferment in the darkness of your mind, growing stronger and more refined with each passing day. You're not diluting their energy by spreading them thin across multiple conversations and opinions. You're concentrating all that power into focused action. There's also the element of surprise, which is perhaps the most underestimated advantage in any competitive environment. When your competitors don't know what you're planning, they can't prepare countermeasures. When your colleagues don't know you're positioning yourself for advancement, they can't position themselves against you. When your industry doesn't know you're developing a game-changing innovation, they can't rush to beat you to market. Secrecy isn't just protection, it's a strategic weapon. The principle applies equally to sharing your results. The temptation to celebrate victories publicly is overwhelming, but it's also strategically foolish. When you broadcast your successes, you're not just sharing good news, you're revealing your capabilities, your methods, your resources, and your trajectory. You're giving potential competitors a detailed analysis of what they need to match or exceed. You're turning allies into competitors by showing them what they could achieve if they applied your strategies. More importantly, public celebration of results creates a psychological trap called the arrival fallacy. Once you've received external validation for an achievement, your brain registers it as a stopping point rather than a milestone. The applause becomes the reward instead of the achievement itself, and you lose the hunger that drove you to succeed in the first place. The most consistently successful people understand that each victory is just fuel for the next challenge, not a destination worthy of prolonged celebration. The social media age has weaponized our natural desire to share and seek validation. Every platform is designed to encourage you to broadcast your life, your goals, your progress, your achievements. But this constant sharing is creating a generation of people who are performing success rather than achieving it. They're so busy documenting their journey that they forget to actually take it. They're so focused on crafting the perfect narrative about their goals that they neglect the unglamorous work of actually pursuing them. True power lies in the ability to resist these social pressures. While others are announcing their New Year's resolutions to anyone who will listen, you're quietly implementing systems that will transform your life. While others are posting about their workout plans, you're actually in the gym getting stronger. While others are sharing their business ideas in Facebook groups, you're building the business in private. This isn't antisocial behavior, it's strategic discipline. The silent strategy also protects you from the toxic culture of instant gratification that pervades modern society. When you don't share your goals, you can't receive immediate feedback, immediate encouragement, or immediate validation. This forces you to develop internal motivation and internal standards of progress. You learn to find satisfaction in the work itself, rather than in other people's reactions to the work. This internal locus of control is perhaps the most reliable predictor of long-term success. But let's be clear about what we're not advocating here. This isn't about becoming a hermit or avoiding all human connection. It's about being strategic with your vulnerability. It's about understanding that not every thought needs to be shared, not every goal needs external validation, and not every victory needs public celebration. It's about creating sacred space in your life where your most important work can happen without interference. The practical implementation of this principle requires discipline and discernment. You need to develop the ability to deflect questions about your plans without seeming secretive or antisocial. When someone asks what you're working on, you can share general categories without revealing specific strategy. When someone asks about your goals, you can discuss principles without exposing timelines. When someone asks about your progress, you can acknowledge the journey without quantifying the destination. This approach also requires you to find alternative sources of accountability and motivation. Since you're not relying on external pressure to keep you on track, you need to develop internal systems that serve the same function. This might mean regular self-assessment, private progress tracking, or working with a coach who understands the value of confidence. The key is creating accountability structures that support your goals without exposing them to sabotage. The most successful people often have what appears to be an overnight success story. But what they really have is years of private preparation followed by public execution. They understood that the preparation phase is too fragile and too important to be contaminated by external opinions and expectations. They worked in silence, refined their strategies in private, and only revealed their capabilities when they were ready to dominate. This principle becomes even more crucial as your goals become more ambitious. The bigger your dreams, the more people will have opinions about their feasibility. The more transformative your plans, the more others will feel threatened by the changes you're proposing. The more successful you become, the more people will want to attach themselves to your journey or find ways to bring you back down to their level. Silence becomes both a shield and a sword, protecting your vision while keeping your competitors in the dark. The relationship between secrecy and success isn't just about avoiding sabotage, it's about creating the optimal conditions for achievement. When you work in private, you eliminate the friction that comes from managing other people's expectations and opinions. You can pivot quickly when something isn't working without having to explain your changes to anyone. You can take risks without worrying about public failure. You can experiment with unconventional approaches without facing premature criticism. This freedom to operate without external oversight is invaluable in any creative or innovative endeavor. The greatest breakthroughs often come from ideas that initially seem foolish or impossible to conventional thinking. If you're sharing these ideas with others during their development phase, you're exposing them to criticism and doubt before they've had a chance to prove themselves. Many revolutionary concepts have been killed not by their inherent flaws, but by premature exposure to closed minds. The silence strategy also forces you to become your own harshest critic and most honest evaluator. When you can't rely on external validation to gauge your progress, you must develop accurate internal metrics. This creates a deeper understanding of what actually works versus what just feels good. You become more results-oriented and less approval-oriented, which is essential for achieving anything meaningful. Consider the difference between someone who announces they're starting a business and someone who simply starts one. The announcer spends energy managing reactions, answering questions, and defending their decision. The doer spends that same energy on research, planning, and execution. 6 months later, the announcer is still talking about their business idea while the doer is running a profitable company. This pattern repeats across every domain of human achievement. The people who accomplish the most are rarely the ones who talk about it the most. They understand that words are cheap and results are expensive, and they prefer to invest their energy in the expensive category. They know that the market rewards execution, not intention, and they focus all their efforts on becoming executors. The principle of not sharing goals and results also protects you from the comparison trap that destroys so much human potential. When you keep your journey private, you're not constantly measuring your progress against other people's highlight reels. You're not getting discouraged by someone else's apparent success or motivated by someone else's apparent failure. You're simply focused on becoming better than you were yesterday, which is the only comparison that actually matters. This internal focus creates a completely different relationship with success and failure. When you're working in private, failure becomes feedback rather than public embarrassment. You can fail fast, fail cheap, and fail forward without having to manage anyone else's disappointment or judgment. This freedom to fail is essential for innovation and growth, but it's impossible to maintain when you're operating under public scrutiny. The silence strategy also prevents you from falling into the trap of seeking easy wins for social media content, rather than pursuing meaningful progress. When you're not constantly looking for shareable moments, you can focus on the unglamorous but essential work that actually creates results. You can spend months on research and preparation without feeling pressure to show progress. You can work on foundational skills without worrying about whether they're photogenic. As you implement this approach, you'll notice that other people become more curious about what you're doing. Your mystery becomes magnetic. People are naturally attracted to those who seem to have interesting inner lives and private projects. This curiosity can be leveraged to your advantage, but only if you maintain the discipline not to reveal too much. The moment you start sharing details, you lose the power that comes from being unknown and unpredictable. The ultimate goal isn't to become a secretive person, but to become a strategic person. Someone who understands that information is power and that sharing information indiscriminately is giving away power unnecessarily. Someone who knows that the most important work happens in private and that public recognition is a byproduct, not the purpose, of excellence. When you finally do achieve your goals, the reveal will be that much more powerful because it comes without warning. Your success won't be diluted by months of build-up and explanation. It will stand on its own merit, speaking louder than any announcement ever could. People will be forced to judge you by your results rather than your intentions, which is exactly how you want to be evaluated. Remember that in a world where everyone is oversharing, the person who practices strategic silence has an enormous advantage. While others are giving away their playbook, you're keeping yours private. While others are seeking validation for their plans, you're seeking results from your actions. While others are performing their journey, you're actually taking it. The choice is you continue sharing your goals with anyone who will listen, hoping for encouragement and accountability from people who may not even want you to succeed. Or you can embrace the power of silence, working in private toward victories that will speak for themselves. The former feels good in the moment, but rarely leads to lasting achievement. The latter requires discipline and patience, but consistently produces the extraordinary results that separate legends from everyone else. In the end, your goals don't need an audience, they need action. Your results don't need explanation, they need continuation. The most successful people understand this distinction and build their entire approach around maximizing action while minimizing unnecessary exposure. They know that the price of extraordinary achievement is often extraordinary privacy, and they're willing to pay that price because they understand the alternative is extraordinary mediocrity. So the next time you feel the urge to share your latest goal or celebrate your recent victory publicly, pause and ask yourself, what would serve your long-term success better, the temporary satisfaction of sharing or the strategic advantage of silence? The answer will determine whether you join the ranks of the talkers, or the doers, the dreamers, or the achievers, those who perform success, or those who actually create it.